So you locked up a contract and then your seller went ghost. Well, now what do you do? What's up? I'm KB and I've been closing deals for over 20 years. I know I don't look it, but it's the truth. So on today's video, we're going to talk about what to do when your seller has ghosted you right after you locked up the contract. Now, most people will just say, well, you just file a memo. And that's great. And it's correct, but that means you don't have a contract to work. So what steps can you take that can maybe get your seller back on board? And that would be a notice to cure. There are two ways to do a notice to cure. One, and the first recommended, is what we call a soft breach. This is going to be sent in an email. It's a, hey, knock, knock, Mr. Seller. I've made X amount of attempts to reach you. You have not been responsive as required by the contract, and I'm giving you an opportunity to rectify it before I take formal action. On that notice, we send it by email. You wait 24 hours, and then on the next set of 24 hours, then you would need to move into a formal cure notice. Caveat to that is that you must have a contract that has the allowable cure notice language along with the affidavit of equitable interest or the memorandum of contract or the notice of contract, whichever you're using in your market or on your contract. From there, you would prepare and deliver a formal notice. That notice must be delivered by a certified or signature required mean to prove that the seller received the notice. So the options there: certified mail, signature required; FedEx or UPS, signature required; or my personal favorite is an in-person delivery using one of my notary or field agent services that does an in-person delivery. If they are not able to hand it physically to my seller, then they will tape it to the front door, take a picture of it with a timestamp, which counts in the court of law as a certified delivery. Now, you need a certified delivery because if you decide to go to court for your affidavit, your memorandum, or you decide to do an escrow demand to pursue specific performance, you have to be able to prove that you cured the seller and gave them ample opportunity to correct the breach in the contract. Very important. At this point, you've done your soft breach email and there's been no response, and so you want to go ahead and you want to move forward to a formal notice to cure. So this is where you're going to put it in writing, what clauses in the contract your seller has breached, and you're going to give them a notice date and a timeline in which they have to respond. And after that, now again, your file goes back to kind of like an interim dead status until a point that the seller or an attorney engages you to move forward, or if you choose to go the escrow demand or attorney demand letter in order to start to pursue specific performance. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you and walk through how I would prepare a notice to cure. Let's get into it. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna just put the property address in here. So 123 Test Street, Mesa, AZ 85201. Okay, and the date of the notice will go today, 5/23/2026. Seller's name is John Smith, and I'm the buyer. I Buy Homes LLC. And this is a formal notice, in reference to the purchase contract that we have with John Smith. Has 3 business days from today. So this would be 5/23/2026 to perform. And then you have to list out the clauses, the specific clauses within your contract. So you're going to refer back to it in which they have breached the contract. So you're always going to write this out. And I try to at least have 2, if not 3, depending on what your contract says. And then just before I start writing out those, I'm just going to say if the seller does not perform, this is going to be 3 business days. So Saturday is technically not considered a business day. Sometimes it is, but we'll call it that it doesn't count. So it's going to be Monday. I'm sorry, Monday's a holiday, so that's Memorial Day. So the Monday doesn't count. A holiday does not count as a business day, KB tip. So we're going to have to go Tuesday, which is the 26th. 27th is Wednesday, 23rd. So they have until the 28th. 5/28 at 5 p.m. Okay, if the seller does not, then it's formally noted that they have formally breached the contract. You can now go for specific performance. Your affidavit is filed to protect and cloud the title, so you're good there. Now you just have to outline and tell the seller what they did to breach the contract. So let's just say our scenario here is we were never able to perform the welcome call to gain the first point of access. So I'm going to go through my contract and I'm going to cure them for pursuant clause 6 of my contract. Inspection period is to begin with seller's access and buyer access. With buyer access and buyer approved photos. Okay, and then we're gonna go to pursuant clause 7. Buyer is to have continued access to property as agreed. And then 3, and lastly, and one that I always throw in here, is I say pursuant clause 12E. That's what it is in my contract. Sale is final. Seller is bound to terms of purchase contract and waives any and all right to cancel this agreement. So now I have my 3 notices that they have breached, the 3 sections that they have breached. I've given them a time start and I've given them a time stop. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this into my DocuSign. I'm going to sign it as the buyer, and then I am going to use Investor Boots, which is the service or the platform that I particularly like and use, to hire a field agent that's going to go out to where the seller lives, not necessarily the property address unless it's owner occupied. If the seller lives elsewhere, you have to know what their physical address is, and that is where you're physically going to attempt to have the field agent hand the notice to the seller. Or if they don't answer the door or they won't come to the door or nobody's home, then they will post it to the front door. They will take a picture of it. It will be time stamped. And now I can use that with my attorney, and then I would move on to hire an attorney if I decided, or I would just let my affidavit sit until the time in which they tried to sell it. And then they would come talk to me and I would try to either get a payout or a portion of the person's assignment fee that they were assigned for if they had a buyer, or I would step back in as the buyer and go ahead and close on it, and then after I closed, I could relist the property and turn around and sell it. If watching this made you go, oh crap, immediately run to your contract to see if you have this clause so that you can do this breach, and you realize that you don't, you might want to consider my contract bundle. I do offer a complete contract bundle, including an A to B wholesale contract, an assignment contract, a double close contract, a script for going over the A to B with your seller, and a cheat sheet on how to fill it out based on the scenarios. You can click the link below to grab that for your next deal. Also, if you would like emails with valuable content just like this, don't forget to subscribe to be added to my email list. And as always, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And to get notified when the next content is dropping, don't forget to hit the bell. We'll see you on the next one. Love you, mean it.